Hey folks, welcome back to Curious Now. It's James Lipshaw here with Jenny Rudolph. This is a little bit of a special behind the scenes episode. We are 3 chapters, 15 episodes into the Curious Now podcast, and that includes 15 sort of subject episodes with our workouts of the week. It also includes 15 listener episodes where we've had guests come in and tell us about their experience with those workouts of the week, which has been a really interesting and I feel like fruitful exercise for both of us in terms of seeing how these exercises are actually getting done out in the world. But what I wanted to ask you, Jenny, to start off was when we started the podcast, what was sort of your dream for how it would look in terms of what we say, who we say it to, the interactivity of it, and how does it compare sort of where we've gotten 30 episodes in, where we are?
Thanks, James. I think the vision was an opportunity for people to really bring practice to their everyday lives, trying to work at the edge of their expertise with whatever topics, whether it's noting your own judgments, whether it's surviving a psychological contract breach, really being able to bring that alive in your own practice. And I think, James, I was hoping that we would have even more interaction in two ways, I guess. So, one way is that, when you and I first talked about the podcast, we thought about it almost a little bit like a call in show
Yeah.
where we might introduce an idea as we have. For example, how do you reset yourself to be curious about another person when they're doing something that you think is completely annoying? We might introduce that idea in 1 week, at the beginning of the week, and then at the end of the week, we would have like a call-in show where people could say how that went for them and talk about the challenges and the successes, and I could comment and I could share my challenges and successes. So we haven't achieved that level of interactivity yet. Let me pause there before I talk about the other kind and just see what you have to say.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of an internal debate whether the Center for Medical Simulation needs a TikTok, and this is me like having a Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade turning to dust moment where I feel very, very old, being like, I think I'm too old to start a TikTok channel. Uh, in terms of providing that sort of interactivity where someone could see the clip of just the little workout and respond to it, I feel like that would get closer to the kind of interactivity that you're talking about. The other thing that occurred to me, Jenny, was I don't think I've ever said this out loud on the podcast, which is probably a mistake. We are on video on YouTube. The video versions of all of these episodes are on YouTube. We started doing that about 15 episodes ago, where the video recording of the podcast is available. So if folks are interested in watching the video version of this, if you're listening on the podcast channel, you are able to do that. It's youtube.com/medical simulation.
Great. Yeah. So obviously, James, I'm dating myself to some degree by talking about a call-in show, though there are still quite a few of those. And I think that kind of interactivity is awesome. Having things on Instagram and or on TikTok where people could respond. And the other type of interactivity I was thinking of, James, actually now there's three, was I would love it if people would record little videos of themselves either trying the workout of the week and or a little video commentary of themselves. Did they flame out? Did it go really well? How was it for them? And post that because that would give me something additional to respond to and allow others to see what the journey was like for each person. So I think that shared journey aspect is not visible at the moment. I get emails and texts from people saying they're really enjoying the process of the workouts of the week, but I think that's invisible to the other listeners.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
The third type of interactivity that I'd like to see more of is to some degree from myself. And that is, I often present the workouts of the week and share struggles that I've had with the issue related to the workout of the week from the past. Um, and my goal there is to try to change the dialogue from like, this is what I know to this is the struggle I've also had, come with me. But I think I have not been as sharing around, how I'm applying that particular workout of the week challenge right now. Occasionally I do. But I think that might also, I think James maybe make it a little more relatable to people like, wow, look, she's struggling with this right now. Oh, I'm struggling with the same thing. Uh, Not sure about that, but that's another thing that's been going through my mind.
Yeah, I had come up, Jenny, with sort of an outrageous metaphor, which was it's almost like we have these stories from when you were a very young student, and we're talking like 18 to 22, and then there's this big gap, and now you're enlightened Jenny at the top of the mountain, and it reminds me a little bit of like we have in the Bible year zero, Jesus is born, and then there's a 33-year gap, and then suddenly we're enlightened and at the top of the mountain. Like, what happened in the middle? There's a big piece missing here. Um, and
That's right.
that's and that's the pathway from not knowing how to do this stuff to knowing how to do this stuff. So
Well, and I think, I'm not going to compare myself to any leader of that caliber, but, as my colleague Laura Rock often says, if we don't explain what's happening in the black box, it looks like magic. And I think, my disclosing a bit more about the struggles that I'm having right now with the very topics that I'm bringing up could be good. And I think, the issue I have to solve there is keeping the innocent out of the disclosures. But that's something else we could think about, I guess.
yeah, absolutely.
So James, one other thing you and I have kind of reflected on, and I just want to dig into it a little bit more, is thinking about what is the right level of challenge for the listener guests. And one of the things that we've debated between us, and I'd like to get your take on it now, is having people on who work with the skills or have mastered the skills that are embedded in the workout of the week, such as disclosing their goals and interests openly, or asking open ended questions about what the other person's thinking, which are both kind of hard to master, versus having someone who's kind of stumbling and struggling through it right now. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that that would be really fascinating. I agreed. I felt like we've had a couple interviews where the people are so expert at the thing that we're talking about that you almost don't get the struggle. It's to use the mountaintop metaphor again. It's people who are at the top of the mountain being like, "Wow, isn't it great up here at the top of the mountain? Like it is so useful to have the tools that got me from the bottom of the mountain to here. You should do it too."
Yeah.
It's not how we get up the ice fall.
Yeah. So, how do we do that better, James? One of the things I'm thinking is I think one of the things I enjoy very much, and my impression from our course evaluations is that participants enjoy it too. It is, basically this sort of live coaching moments. And so I'm thinking we might want to dial that up a little bit, which requires a little vulnerability, both from me and the coachee,
Yeah.
in that I might fumble a coaching move or they might not feel like they're advancing or as graceful as they want to be. But I'm thinking that could be a direction we could head.
Yeah, and I think that that would be really useful for folks, and it really is sort of what I had imagined when we talked about listeners coming on and sort of working through the exercises live with you, coaching them. It's a little bit like a gym coaching session in many ways.
Yeah. So, James, I'm thinking, we've kind of debriefed ourselves for a little bit. And before we move to takeaways, as it were, I think what I might suggest is maybe we could post this. And I'd like to invite anybody who's hearing this to please, write in on our LinkedIn or email us at curiousnow@harvardmedsim.org with your ideas of like, what would you like to see? What would be fun for you if you've been listening? What are you missing? What could we do better as we do this sort of mid-course correction?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to tell you, Jenny, one additional idea I had that I thought was sort of funny, which is the Oops All Workouts episode, sort of like the Captain Crunch Oops All Berries cereal. And so that would basically be just taking all of the workouts, say for the first five, the second five, the third five, cutting together an episode where someone could just listen to that and be like, okay, I'm going to do workout one, I'm going to do workout two, I'm going to do workout three. And similarly, have that as a resource on our website, put that out on the LinkedIn and on our Facebook and Twitter, etc., so that folks could have the very, very condensed version. I was also thinking if we do start a TikTok, that would be a great thing to put there, just the workout, rather than having a full 12-minute episode.
Yeah, that would be great. And the other thing that you and I have been considering is launching a Curious Now newsletter or something like that that goes out via LinkedIn or email. I know those are media that some people still use. And so people could click on the workout of the week and interact with it that way.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of a synergy come up on another front that I can tell you about later, but not on open air.
Okay, sounds good. All right, James, anything else you want us to touch on or cover before we wrap this?
No, I'm happy with that. Thanks so much, Jenny.
Okay, thank you. James Lipshaw, thank you for producing the show, and it's fun to be in dialogue with you.
Yeah, and Jenny, thanks as always for your hosting.